Hey, it's the Profit Answer Man, Rocky Lalvani. If you're new to the podcast, check out my interview with Mike McCall. It's episode number 2. If you want to hear about each chapter in the Profit First book, go back and listen to episodes 3 through 13. Episode 1 is the why and how. On the Profit Answer Man, we learn money mastery without all the complicated accounting mumbo-jumbo using a simple system. Your accountant is busy documenting your transactions and creating a rearview mirror of what happened. My guess is you don't even look at the reports they sent you. If you're like most business owners, you struggle with this, and it's not your fault. We aren't taught money in school, and accountants aren't taught how to be profitable. The Profit First system created by Mike McCall works, and he certified me to help you implement the system in your business. Remember, the new equation is sales minus profit equals expenses. Let's face it, without cash flow, you can't pay your employees, buy needed materials, or pay your mortgage and support your family. I help you to do that and more, so you can focus on the parts of the business you love and receive the rewards for your labor and investment into your business. The stronger you are as a business owner, the more jobs you create, the better we are as a country. Small business owners are the backbone of America, and for that, you deserve to be well rewarded. Just remember, more revenue does not equal more profit. That's why we focus on the bottom line. We have another amazing guest today. It's Karen McCall, who went from dodging IRS calls to helping thousands of people get out of debt and build a life and business they love. Karen is the founder of Financial Recovery Institute and world-class money coach training, and now, at age 77, she's the creator of the money management program, Money Grit. Karen has spent the last 33 years working with small business owners, and she's seen many struggle with self-employment. She has worked with hundreds of solopreneurs and small business owners to help them build lucrative, successful businesses that are not only profitable, but feed their soul. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to the Profit Answer Man, Karen McCall. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you, Rocky. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Can you share a little bit about what you do and how you help business owners?
Yes, what I do. Let's see. We have to turn the clock back to the mid-1980s when I was working in corporate America and was absolutely miserable. And my life was falling apart all around me. And so even though I had a great job, an expense account, company car, I was flat broke. And working for a corporation was something that I didn't realize at the time, but that I was really not happy in that work. And so to make a long story short, I left corporate America and decided that I wanted to be a therapist. And so I started taking some career exploration classes. And what I realized was not that I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to help people who had money problems. And I think I'd been an entrepreneur from the time I was a little girl. But as soon as I really had that clear vision that I wanted to help people like me who had problems with money, that was the beginning of a career that spanned over 3 decades.
And how do you help business owners now with money?
Well, what I do now is I mostly train money coaches. I no longer work one-on-one with clients. What I have done is I've created not only a process it's called financial recovery, but I've also felt that for people to really develop a healthy relationship with money, they had to not only look at their feelings and their emotions that drive their behaviors with money, but they also really needed to get grounded in the numbers to see what the numbers were telling them. So I've also developed software, started out as a paper and pencil system back in 1989, evolved through Excel, and now we have a web-based money management program that can really be used as a tool for people to develop a healthy relationship with money. And we have a business version. That's one of the main things. And then there's a lot of money coaches, that can use that system to help entrepreneurs.
So let's talk about entrepreneurs. You said that there is a number one predictor for business success, and it's their relationship with money. What do you mean by that?
They say that, the majority of entrepreneurs go out of business the first 5 years. And I believe that one of the reasons for that is that they do not have a strong relationship with money. They probably have a desire to help people. They've probably created something that they're very excited about. But if they haven't developed a strong relationship with money, the predictor of their success really is diminished. So having a strong relationship with money is crucial to being successful in business.
So let's define that. What does it mean to have a strong relationship with money?
Someone who has their arms around the numbers, they see what the numbers are telling them. And when I started, just tell you a little story, kind of how I realized that I needed to create this process, not only for individuals, which is how it started out. I realized I had to do it for small businesses. And the reason for that was my early clients who came to me to work on their personal finances. Hey, they were very excited about it, right? But what I discovered was that they always had a back door to not stick to their spending plan. The back door was their business. And, the justification that people will have, hey, I can spend this on this because it's a business deduction. And so I realized we had to kind of close that loophole by having people not only have the clarity around their personal finances, but also the same process around their business finances.
And we talk about that a lot. People think just because it's a business expense that it gives you permission to spend it. And the reality is if it's not helping you grow your business or serving your customer, it's money that's making somebody else rich because you're wasting it in your business. And I think too often that's what happens. Business owners tend to waste a lot of money. I know you're very much about integration. And I've heard you say that the business should feed their soul and it's kind of an integration with their work. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, how to feed your soul in your pocketbook or your wallet, right? What I learned both from myself and with the people that I've worked with, thousands of people I've worked with, is that, people definitely like to earn money. However, just earning money is not enough. It's not that gratifying to people. And so one of the things that I noticed with entrepreneurs is they had this lovely hobby or vision for something they wanted to do. But then when they got into the financial part of their business, everything kind of fell apart. And so all of a sudden, there's something this dream, this vision, this desire to bring this work to the world, all of a sudden is negatively impacted because now they can't make a living doing it. And I train money coaches. And a few years ago, I remember this one call I got, and there was a guy, and he said, "Hey, I hear that you can make good money doing what you do. I want to know about your training." That was his motivation, just earning money. I didn't take him on as a trainee because I feel that I know for me, I want to make a difference in people's lives. I want to have work. When I go to bed at night and put my head on the pillow, I want to feel that I've earned good money, but I've also made a difference in people's lives. So meaning, I think it's about having meaning.
Business gets hard. And if you're not willing to go through the struggles, it's going to be very difficult. And if it's not gratifying and you're not enjoying it, then you're just chasing a dollar. It's not going to be enjoyable. And so it makes it very hard to continue when times get a little bit tough. And then for those business owners, they probably just chase whatever's next, and then they're constantly chasing instead of building something that has value.
You sent me a copy of the book that you use, Profit First. And one of the things I really loved that I read was and I won't remember exactly what it was, but it was this idea that business owners so often, it's like, oh, you have to earn money. And so all of a sudden they're going to put a course together. They're going to try to launch it really quickly, because they don't have their arms around their money. So it's a shame if someone has this vision and then because of their relationship with money, they can't take that to its full potential. So do you remember that part of the book? It's where, it just shows there's never any profit. You're just always spending money, spending money, spending money. So I felt that what he was talking about in Profit First was very similar to my feelings about, it's important for people to have business that is good for them.
And we talk about that. We want you to make decisions based on your values, not your bank account. And so when your bank account is flush, then you get the freedom or the privilege to make choices based on your values. You're not pushed against the wall. And so it really does help you to do that and to have that choice. And that kind of goes into the next question, because this is where it really comes down. It's defining the quality of your life and your needs versus wants. And even in business, the business has certain needs and then the business has certain wants. And I think back to your earlier comment, we tend to overspend on business wants, which are really not business wants. They're our own wants that are vanity, is what I call it, vanity spending to make you feel good, but it doesn't do anything to serve the business. What have you found?
Well, and it's looking at where's that motivation coming from that I just need to earn more money, right? And so often what I've seen is that if people are not clear about what they really need, or let's say that down deep, and I know that a lot of entrepreneurs have gone through this, I know I have, where we just don't think we are enough. We don't know enough. We're not as experienced enough. We're not expert. And so if we're just keeping those feelings down and not addressing them, then we're going to be potential victims to, I see this shiny thing. Oh, I'll take this course. Oh, I'll buy this from my office. And so there's an attempt to meet their need, but they're not in touch with what that real need is. And that is, all of us. I mean, it really takes us to a different level when we start a business. Being in charge of your own income brings you face to face with your relationship to work and earning money and your deep feelings about money. So if somebody's really challenged in their business, it may be an indicator that their belief system that they deserve, that they're worthy of success in that business and earning money. So really getting in touch with what the emotions are is a really key part to see what is driving the particularly that sabotaging behavior.
And you've got to understand yourself, and you need to be strong yourself, and you need to be financially fit, because if you're not, then you're going to show up in your business with all of those problems, which makes it very hard to run your business and deal with the situations when you're still facing yourself, which is always an issue.
Well, and this is where I think this is one of the reasons I created the software that I have, Money Grit, is one of the ways that people can get to know themselves is by really being grounded in the numbers. And, we both have talked about no rearview mirror accounting. And I feel that one of the things that's important is that people do spending plans for their business. They do a monthly spending plan. They do an annual spending plan. And as they're doing that they're evaluating their business. They're kind of taking an inventory of their business. What are my needs in my business? Do I need to earn more because I'm not able to pay myself enough? Do I need to earn more so that I can pay my taxes on time? Do I need certain types of equipment or classes? What do I need? So having an idea of the numbers, both in your personal finances and your business, and doing that spending plan, now people have something, they're armed with something concrete. They know this is what they would need to generate. And so now they're faced with, how do I feel about generating that? And training thousands of money coaches over the years, I know that that is one of the things. I'm not saying men don't suffer from it, but women certainly do, where can I really charge for my services? Do I know enough? And so deep down, they've got to overcome that belief that they're not enough.
So I think they're two separate things, right? One is knowing that you are enough, and that's part of it. But even if you are enough and you're comfortable in your skin, I think we all in the business world struggle with how much we charge for our services, especially if you're in a service business. More often, and I see it with the guys, I see it with the women, I see it with everybody, that they're afraid to ask for more because they think the client will go somewhere else. And honestly, I think this is the fourth time today we had the conversation. And the first conversation was from this morning. I was talking to another business coach, and he basically said he hired a high-end business coach. And the guy said, I'll work with you. And I think he cut him a deal because he was relatively new, but you have to listen to what I say and do what I say. He said, okay. His first phone call, he got on the phone with the guy, and the guy said, double your rates. And then he hung up.
Because he didn't think he was going to be good enough.
Right. And so they got on the next call, and the guy said, double your rates again, and then we'll talk. And he hung up. And it was on the third call where they finally had that conversation. So he actually did what he was told, and he made a proposal to a large business, and he offered his services, and it was a very high price point. And about a year later, he went back and had a conversation with that client because he's like, I really want to know how this came down. He goes, was I the most expensive? They said, no, you weren't the most expensive, but you weren't the cheapest. And he said, if I had bid this much, would you have still considered me? And the client said, if you bid that much, you would have never made it into the round of consideration, because the fact that you valued yourself so low told us that you weren't valuable.
Uh-huh.
And so this is a conversation that literally this is the fourth or fifth time today that we've had this same conversation of you need to appropriately charge for your services. And of course you need to deliver value, but there is nothing wrong with doing that. And we're talking about, the same thing is true for roofers and plumbers and in all the different types of services that are out there. There are people who want high quality vendors. And if you're always offering a low quality price, you tend to attract clients who are a pain. And nobody wants clients who are a pain and constantly nickeling, diming them. And so you've got to have the courage to make that choice and do it appropriately.
I agree with you 100%. And one of the phrases that I use with people in setting their fees is to start paying attention to how you feel. So let's say somebody does lowball. They take a client they don't particularly want, but they need the money. And now they're really resenting it. And especially in our work, where we really get into the nitty gritty with people's money. And they go, oh, I lowered my fee for this person, but look at what they're doing. They're doing 10 times more than I could do. So I encourage entrepreneurs to really think about what their resentment number is, and to start paying attention. If you lowered your price, how do you feel? And I know I had this experience. I was contacted a few years ago by a family who wanted me to do an intervention with one of their family members. It was a family business. I probably had 2 or 3 prospect calls with different members of the family. And finally, I just got to the point where, it's time for them to make a decision. And that was the exercise I went through myself. What would it take for me to get on a plane, be gone for 4 or 5 days, fly back? What would my resentment number be? And once I was clear on that, it was pretty clear I really didn't want to go. But there was a number that I would have gone for. And, so that can be a help. Sometimes people don't know how to set their fees either. So it does take some research. What are other people in the industry charging? And then there's the emotional part of it. What would feel right to me? But, people start resenting. Resentment is a horrible emotion. So, that can be a clue. If you're resenting that you're doing this work for so little, it's really time to look at your relationship to earning money.
So I question people looking at what the rest of the market is charging, partially because the other business owners don't know their numbers either. And so they might be mispricing their offerings as well. I think you need to look at what are the inputs involved. And that's not just materials, but time cost. And actually run the calculations to see how much it's going to cost you to provide that product or service, and include all of the fees. A lot of people, especially in e-commerce, they forget to include what Amazon's charging and what the shipping is and all these other things that can dramatically change the numbers. So you have to look at the complete delivery and what your overhead is, and then see if you are profitable, because you can continue to sell more and more, but sell unprofitably throughout the whole thing. And then you wonder why you're slowly losing money.
And burning out.
And that happens more often than you can imagine, is mispricing of product.
I can totally imagine it because of the fact that I have worked with, people for over 3 decades. But what I found out is that you still can do some research, So a money coach might look at what do other coaches, what do people in the financial world charge? But then it really has to also be an inside job, try on the different numbers. An exercise that I take people through is your earnings ceiling meditation. And I've done this in front of large groups where I can watch people as I take them through this meditation. I can look at their reaction. And I'll just give you an example. I take people, depending on the group, I might start with $25,000 a year, I might start with $100,000 a year, but, I just take them up incrementally, okay, so how would you feel if you were earning this amount of money? Pay attention to how you feel in your body and what are your thoughts. And then I take them up to a much higher level. And I could see where a person reached what their ceiling was, this invisible ceiling, but it really wasn't invisible if they went through this process. And so one man that did this, he wanted to know if I would barter with him. And I told him I didn't barter, but he did find a way to work with me. And one of the things that we discovered in him writing his autobiography, his money autobiography, they'd always been struggling. And then his father got a big promotion and was making $200,000 a year. And this was a long time ago. $200,000 a year was a lot of money. And guess what happened? And they moved to a nicer home. Life was better. Guess what happened? Dad died. So, all of a sudden it's like, it's not safe to earn money. It's just not safe. Look, and that's not necessarily a conscious thought, but it is an experience in childhood, a trauma that now silently is carried forward. So it can be really important for people to do a lot of emotional work around their relationship to their fees.
And I can tell you, when I talk about money with most of my business owners, that the one they always have is anxiety. And I think it's just the uncertainty of not anxiety.
Oh.
And it's anxiety because they have uncertainty. They don't know what's going on. And that causes their anxiety, is the lack of knowledge, the lack of clarity. When they simply know what's going on and they feel comfortable with it and they know that everything is okay, it takes away all the anxiety and they feel much, much better.
Yeah, I don't know that it always takes away all the anxiety, but you're right in that no matter how bad a person's situation is, it's going to be worse and feel worse if they keep their head in the sand. That's the way I was. I stuck my head in the sand, just kind of lived in denial. And, when the time came to actually look at everything, it looked pretty dismal, but I felt better. And that's been my experience with clients too. Usually their situation is better than they think, but there are times it's worse. But now they have something really concrete to work with. And if people do that, and I just always say, trust the process. I can't guarantee an outcome, but, just trust the process. And if you start tracking your money and planning your spending and tracking against your spending plan so that you see what you say you're going to do and what you do may be two very different things, and then you can analyze what the reason is that what you plan and what you do are two different things. Is it because I haven't tracked very long? I don't know, so I'm just guesstimating. Or if I planned this amount and I spent this amount, the second reason can be that something came up that they could not have anticipated. And then the third reason is I saw it, I wanted it, to heck with my spending plan. And that third thing right there is where people can then trace back to say, what was going on for me emotionally when I made that decision, so that now they can start setting up a different outcome when that feeling comes up in the future.
And that requires you to kind of examine what's going on and take the time and space to work on yourself. We always talk about, you have to work on your business, not in your business. You've got to work on yourself as well and make those changes. So you have a program for business owners called Money Grit. Can you share a little bit about what that is?
I would have never gone into the software business. When I started my business, I couldn't have predicted technology for what it is today, right? And so I had a paper and pencil system. I had people track, and we did spending cuts. We looked at their debt, and we looked at their savings. And then as time went on, it graduated to an Excel program. And then in 2013, we launched it as a web-based program. And then this year, we're launching a newer version. And I call it, and so the reason I created this is because most of the software, a lot of the software there's some good features in each one, but the way I train people to work with people on their money, I needed to have functionality that none of the other programs had. And that functionality, part of it is like when you said, hey, people don't know the difference between overhead and cost of sales, for example. So I definitely built the financial part, so that they could do that, but with very robust categories and subcategories, so that when a person is exploring the quality of their business, when we go through these categories, we evaluate the quality of every single one. Like, tell me about you in marketing. Tell me about the equipment you're using. And so they're telling their whole story, and then they start tracking. And then we do spending plans. But in the spending plan process, one of the things that is unique about this program is when something does change, what I said I'm going to spend and what I spent are two different things. Rather than going back and changing the plan so that everything balanced, I created an adjustment process so that people can, they look at it and they go, wow, look at this. I planned this and this, but I did all these other things. If they just go back and erase their initial amount, which is what most programs do, it's not going to teach them anything. So everything is designed to help people be out of any kind of denial around their business, to be out of the money fog. Sometimes people have tons and dozens of accounts, and they have those because they're trying to manage. They think if I have 10 accounts, I'll be able to manage everything. And what happens, it just adds to more and more fog. So I want people to simplify. And so we have the personal version and the business version. And with them working together, and I can honestly say this, when I wrote my last book, I think you have a copy of it, I sat down in my office, since it had been a while since I'd worked with clients one-on-one, I went through all my client folders. And I asked myself the question, what did people say brought them in for money coaching? And I saw the answer to that. Almost everyone had some version of, I want to become a grown-up with money. I want to be responsible. Certainly look at their relationship to debt and savings. But the other thing that I saw was that clients who had approached this with their arms around their personal finances and around their business, but separating the two, really want to separate them, it was just unbelievably successful in terms of people changing the quality of their business. In most circumstances, it meant they were earning more, but even if they weren't earning a lot more, they had come to terms with a lifestyle that they were comfortable with. It's always fun when you get a client, which doesn't happen very often, but they say, I want to make sure I make enough. I don't know that I want to continue to market and push myself and do more and more and more. So again, it starts, you get total clarity. What do I need to earn to pay myself? What do I need to earn to run my business? What do I need to earn to grow my business? And once people have those concrete numbers, now they can come up with now's the time to look at what they're going to charge, right? Because they know what they need to earn. So I think that's an important step before people name their fees.
I always say when you have targets, it's much easier to hit them than when you're going blind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need a GPS for your money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You wouldn't hop in a car and say, okay, I want to go over here and not look at a map, right? Now we don't have to look at maps. We just say, hey, Google, take me to this address.
But you need to know the address, right? You can't just say, hey, Google, take me somewhere.
Right.
I don't know where I'm going.
Why don't you try that sometime and see what Google says?
Oh.
But you're right. You're so right about that. People need to have a very clear idea of what they need and want to earn. And that is the first step. To set earning goals without knowing what your needs are, to pay yourself, to run your business, to grow your business, you are working in the dark. And you'll probably always feel that you're just chasing the ball.
And that is very, very true. You have a free resource to share with the audience. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I have an ebook on my site, financialrecovery.com, and it's called Is Your Work Working For You? And so it is an opportunity, these are the different scenarios in the ebook, is your work is working, but your money's not. Your money's working, but the work's not. Or maybe both are working, no, neither are working. And so it really gives a person an opportunity to look at their relationship to work and earning money.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. If people would like to find out more about your services, Money Grit, maybe check into some of the coaches, what's the best way for them to do that?
Two ways. Financialrecovery.com is where you can find the money coaches and where you can get the freebie. And then if you're interested in the software, moneygrit.com.
And we will put links to that in the show notes for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rocky. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed talking with Karen so much, she's going to be on my other podcast as well, where she goes deep into her backstory and talks about Money Grit. It's episode 238, and depending on when you listen, it may not be released yet. We're both at the stage in life of giving back and helping others to succeed, like we have. If you need help, find the person you will listen to and work with them to build your financial and life freedom. Money doesn't have to be hard. We just make it hard. You can find Karen at financialrecovery.com and moneygrit.com. Check out her websites if it's of interest. Remember, you don't need more resources. You need to be more resourceful. We focus on the bottom line. If you want a done-for-you service, you can have me as your Chief Profitability Officer. Because you have your zone of genius and want to spend your time doing what you love. I only work with a handful of clients, so they get my full attention. I work with business owners who have or are growing to $500,000 to $5 million in revenue. You can use the scheduling link in the show notes to get on my calendar for a good fit conversation to see if I'm the right person to support you and how I can help you. If you want to learn about living the life of your dreams, check out my other podcast, Richer Soul. As we close out, let's repeat the mantra. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Have an abundant and profitable week.